Years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later.
Welcome to the Story of Liberty.
The Negro is still
It's John Bona and it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the prominent American civil rights leader. You know, when he was only 26 years old at that young age, he gave an address at Montgomery, Alabama. He said this, he said, if you will protest courageously and yet with dignity and Christian love, when the history books are written in future generations, the historians will have to pause and say, there lived a great people. Some years later, in 1963, when he was about 33 years old, he gave that great speech of the Civil Rights March on Washington. And Martin Luther King Jr. declared, he said, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. He went on further to say, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He had great wisdom. In accepting the Nobel Peace Prize when he was about 34, he said, he admonished that nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral questions of our time, and that the need for man to overcome oppression and violence is without resorting to oppression and violence. In The Trumpet of Conscience, Martin Luther King explains, he said, the limitation of riots is that they cannot win, and their participants know it. I love his remarks when he said something about a street sweeper. He said if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. You know, on the very evening before his assassination, Martin Luther King gave an address in Birmingham, Alabama. And he said, I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. The very next day, he was in the promised land. The great Martin Luther King Jr.